Om Shanti. Today's chapter is Dada's devotion. Dada's religious devotion and his right minded thoughts were mature and powerful, whatever the occasion. When his daughters and nieces married, he held for each of them a ceremony called Paharamani, in which clothes and household items would be given to new in laws. But Dada gave them diamonds, ornaments of gold, inset with precious stones, and other beautiful jewelry worth tens of thousands of rupees. In addition, he gave a copy of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita within a temple made of silver as a special gift. He used to also call his guru at the time of such a marriage ceremony, and the occasion would be transformed into a satsang or a religious gathering, concluding the marital event on a note of spirituality. Now, Dada was a millionaire and a member of an old and well established family. Having attained such a status, it was expected that he would marry his daughters into equally wealthy and renowned houses. Instead, when the time came for one of his daughters, nicknamed Puttu, to marry, he chose for her a young headmaster whose name was Bodhraj of the local school. The schoolmaster came from an ordinary family, while Dada's daughter was beautiful, intelligent, and rich. Dada could have had his pick of the most eligible bachelors in India for his daughter to marry, but he himself greatly respected Bodhraj because he was a religious man. Puttu had picked up much of the wisdom of her father and understood the value of having a spiritual man for a husband. In fact, the headmaster had earned the title Yogi Raj within the community thanks to his untiring love for meditation, and that is why Dada took this step, despite the criticism he knew he would encounter. He wanted to assure his daughter of an atmosphere of continuing devotion even after she left his house. Dada knew that having money without inner peace would create unrest, while even if there were no money, a peaceful household would always be a heaven. There was a great uproar in Dada's family when he announced up the match. It became a topic of controversy in every gathering. Why had Dada spoiled the family dynasty by marrying his daughter to such an outsider, one who acts more like a sannyasi, renunciate, rather than a householder? In the end, though, everyone realized Dada's decision was best. In fact, all the members of Dada's family were devoted to high ideals. Their position of great wealth had not corrupted them. The occasion of the marriage between Puttu and Bodhraj has been depicted for us by one of the eyewitnesses of the event, B.K. Dadi Manoharendraji, who is now a main teacher with the Brahmakumaris in Madhuban, Mount Abu, the spiritual university headquarters. In quotes, I had seen Dadaji and his family many a time. One of Dadaji's houses was near my house. One of his sons, Narayan, studied with my brother. When the marriage of Puttu and Bodhiraj was announced, I was invited to attend, and of course I did. One of the specialties of the occasion was that there was no shouting or loud noise or worldliness at all. It felt almost like a vision, as if it were the marriage of a goddess and a deity. It was like an oasis of peace in the midst of the Kali Yuga. I was most impressed by that scene. The thought arose in my mind that I did not like the ordinary people of today, people who were full of ego, but I certainly liked the pure life lived so gracefully by the family of Dada. graceful and seemingly always in motion. That was Dada Lake Raj. He had his diamond shop in Calcutta, and he also conducted business in Bombay. He owned houses in both cities, as well as a residence in Hyderabad. At all three places, he lived at ease as the head of his family, a man at the height of his powers, and he was happy. It was a custom in India for men with religious inclinations as powerful as Dadas to go away to the forest and live as renunciates. But through but though Dada's devotion to God was deep and unwavering, he never entertained the idea of leaving home for the seclusion of a Vanprastha ashram. At last, when Dada turned 60 years of age, his wife, Jashoda, said, "Now we ought to go away to some lonely spot and accept the Vanprastha life." Dada thought this over. "Wait," he said. "I have earned so many hundreds of thousands of rupees. Let me double the amount of our savings, and then we shall become Vanprasthis." His idea was to work for 2 to 4 years more and then to give his great wealth in donation to the needy and to spend his final years in devotion. But as the proverb states, man proposes, God disposes. For suddenly something happened in Dada's mind. All worldly attachment dropped away. He began to receive indescribable experiences within himself. From that point on, Dada wanted only to be left alone. He spent his time in contemplation and thinking. The next chapter is the grace of divine knowledge. One day, while Dada was sitting in the back hall of his bungalow with with a group of fellow disciples of his guru, he began to get another strange experience. He recognized these unique inner sensations now as the onset of a spiritual encounter. But still he knew neither their cause nor purpose. He experienced a sense of heightened perception, a new clarity of mind and vision, a powerful, intuitive grasp of reality was growing in him. He went to his own room to get away from the company of his visitors. As he sat alone, absorbed in the incomprehensible manifestations of a new level of being, he was filled with a divine intoxication. He had gone beyond all consciousness of his body. He was a pure soul, pure light, afloat in an ocean of bliss. Then he had a revelation, a vision of the four-armed form of Vishnu. Dada thought the appearance of this vision had been given by the grace of his guru. So, when the experience was over, with joy he went to the guru and lovingly described the entire experience. But as he was talking, he realized from the guru's blank expression that this man had no knowledge of what he had just gone through, and that to give such an experience was actually beyond the guru's power. And so Dada's mind turned towards the Supreme Father, the Supreme Soul, the incorporeal one. He realized at last that there is only one Satguru, Guru of truth, and that is God Himself. Only the one God can be the giver of grace, the bestower of divine perception and divine intellect. Any human who calls himself God or claims that God is omnipresent is in fact an impostor. It was God who had sent him that shimmering vision of Vishnu. Dada felt that clearly. What he still had to know was why. God and the destruction of the world. Some days later, Dada went to another location on business, and he took the opportunity to stay with a friend. He was walking through the grounds of his friend's house when he suddenly remembered a spot where he used to come to practice devotion. Sitting there now, among the groves of trees, he again became detached from worldly matters. He was remembering God. And once again, he felt himself becoming light, leaving his body far behind. He understood that his previous experiences were not flukes, not mere flashes that would seize and leave him as he was before. Rather, a seed had been planted, and it was growing, continually growing inside of him. He was skillfully being prepared through a series of successively deeper revelations to receive the full truth, the absolute knowledge of God, the Supreme Soul. Dada remained for some time in this place, and every day he went to sit there among the trees and think about God. He would have new revelations on each occasion, divine experiences of many varieties, pieces of a fantastic jigsaw puzzle which he knew was his task to put together. During this time, Dada wrote home a number of extraordinary letters from which it was evident that something amazing, something unprecedented was happening to him. Either he was going mad, or was it possible he was actually receiving revelations from God? P.K. Dadi Brijindraji writes about this period. Dada wrote in one of his letters, "There is an abundance of wealth, abundance of wealth. I am trying to get it," the meaning, trying to get it. In the next letter, he wrote, "Got the key. I got it. I got it." In this manner, he wrote 5 letters to us. During those days, Dada received such divine experiences that his letters seemed to vibrate in our hands. We could feel his exalted condition. In the end, he wrote, "Whatever was to be attained, I now have. Now what remains to be achieved? पाना था सो पा लिया और क्या बाकी raha." Finally, the day came. Dada received a double revelation, and the final piece of the jigsaw puzzle fell into place. First, a vision of Jyotirlingam Shiva Paramatma, the Supreme Soul, whose eternal form is a point of light, and then a terrifying vision of the destruction of the world as we know it. The vision of Shiva, God, clinched his understanding of his own identity. The Supreme Soul is a point of light, and his children are made in his image. Thus, all of us are truly just such tiny points, sparks of conscient light. Only we, the children, take bodies and play out our roles on the stage of the physical world, while Shiva remains in his eternal form. And by taking birth after rebirth, we forget ourselves, while Shiva knows the entire cosmic play. He watches as life after life, the souls decline, their energies decrease, and they begin to act selfishly towards one another. Then, before the end, he comes to lift his children to perfection once again. But what kind of end is it that is about to come, and what sort of new beginning? In his vision, Dada witnessed destruction. He saw that very powerful bombs would be manufactured and fired in a war between America and Russia. He saw guided missiles with warheads of such devastating potency that whole regions of the earth would burn up in a moment. Gigantic fireballs, cities in flame, unbearable storms of fire raging everywhere. Dada understood that these were to be the same weapons used 5,000 years ago in the great Mahabharat war. Weapons described in the ancient scriptures as fire arrows, brahmastras, and mushals. And that this same war was about to be reenacted. Dada saw that by this war, Europe and America would be entirely destroyed. When he received this vision, America had not yet dropped the first atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Russia and the US were then friendly countries, and Germany and Japan were united against them. But in this vision that God presented to him, it was clear that these two countries would be enemies, and the world war which they would start would be the last. For there would be no one left to even bury the dead. A world of corpses. As a result of this destruction, souls who would unexpectedly become disembodied would fly upward in their millions like a swarm of fireflies in the cosmic night, upward to the soul world, the supreme abode. Only a tiny handful of people would remain alive on Earth. Dada saw that not only the population of Europe, Russia, and America would be devastated, but the destruction would also strike in China, Africa, India, and the Middle East. In those areas, death would come slower through wars and civil wars, culminating in an awesome wave of natural catastrophes, floods and tidal waves, earthquakes of unbelievable magnitudes, volcanoes erupting, storms of every kind, wreaking havoc on the scarred face of the earth. Dada began to tremble uncontrollably as he witnessed the scenes of this great worldwide destruction. Humans and animals running wildly about, trying to save their lives to escape from the jaws of death. But there would be no escape. The fire would devour them all. And now Dada could see great rains pouring down, waves of rushing water filling the streets, covering the houses. Somewhere, buildings toppling in a tremor, vast cuts opening up in the ground, the angry earth swallowing up people. On all sides, the uproar shattering, wails of pain and horror, rivers of blood, panic and destruct and desperation, and then death, the silent aftermath. Dada, who had never in his life shed a tear, was weeping. Oh God, please stop this. Please stop this. He cried. What terrible destruction. Please now show me your other side, your beautiful form. So we'll stop here today. Next day, we'll look into the, the chapter of withdrawal from business.
Wow,
Om
thank you.
Sure. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti.